Hello? I'm going to start this like I do every time I talk. I'm a Boston guy, so I do a traditional Boston greeting. Sup, dudes? All right, let's bring the energy here. I know it's the last session of the day. You want to get drinking, you want to get eating? Too bad. You got 45 minutes with me. All right. So, as we see here in this picture, there are the Goliaths and there are the Davids of the world. There are the 300 Spartans versus the mighty Persians. There is Rocky Balboa versus Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, Tommy Gunn. There is Johnny versus Daniel LaRusso. I said Johnny because he's the real underdog in my mind. And of course, there is Bill S. Preston and Ted Theodore Logan against their history report. But what ends up happening is that the little guys and the underdog can win. Now, I'll tell you, I've been coming to this conference for years. I've been coming to a lot of different conferences. I read everything that's online about brand, and I see all the big guys out there. And we hear about them, and you hear all the amazing stuff they're doing, and believe me, they're doing some killer stuff. But here's me. I remember years ago, and I remember, I'm sorry, you're going to get those references all the time. I can't help myself. And I remember sitting in the audience and watching a huge, well-known brand up on stage talking about employer brand, and I started laughing. And I was like, this guy, Indy. I was like, really? Really, dude? And then you have teams, you have budget, and I can tell you, I work with SMBs all around the world. A lot of us, if you're in this audience, you're probably one of them. No, that's not the case. In some cases, these companies have teams of people who this is their job. So how do you do this? How do you be Bill and Ted? How do you be Rocky? How do you be Johnny, not Nathanson? How do you do that? First, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my playbook that I do with companies. A little bits and pieces of how you frame this that I'm hoping, as you heard today, you got some actionable takeaways that you can use in your efforts back home. So first is you got to start with goals. Why do we do this? What is this all about, right? And it's not just followers. It's not, you really have to think about, why am I doing this? What do I want to get out of it? So here's some common goals. And when I do this exercise with companies as we set out to begin this, this journey, I ask them what they care about. And I give them suggestions of some general best practices, but you have to think about what you care about. What do you want to get out of it? And no one's going to tell you what you need. You know what you need. So here's just some common suggestions. First is hires, right? That's why we play the game. I always say, what are your goals for the year? Can we meet it? Can we exceed it? Can you get ahead of planning for next year? Pretty easy one there. Then there's inbound. Inbound's the buzzword du jour. Everyone loves it, along with authentic. Oh, I hate that word. But anyways, inbound is all about how I define it as people applying to you. It's a very different term than how your recruiter's effectiveness is. That's a whole nother metric you can measure. Inbound is literally how many people are applying to you. I then go a little bit deeper, and if they're interested in that, I say, well, how do we measure quality? So yeah, you're getting a lot of people following you, but if they're crap, who cares, right? So quality is a way that you can measure, and how I like to measure is very simple, especially with SMBs who don't have all these analytical tools that a lot of the big companies has. I have a very simple formula. It's people applied versus people who got screened by a recruiter. Very, very simple, because if the recruiter is any good at their job, they're talking to people who, at least on paper, are a fit for what you're looking for. Then I have referrals. Now, what does referrals have to do with brand? Very simply, if you have awareness, if you have excitement, if you have buzz around your brand, people, and you have more importantly, your employees acting as brand advocates, you will get people who will want to join them, and they'll reach out to the people in their network. Referrals will naturally go up. But again, referrals is a tricky one to measure. Do you just want to measure how many you get, or do you measure how many you actually hired? They're two different things. So things to think about there. There's outbound recruiter response rate. Sir, you're here, you all have LinkedIn recruiter accounts. You see your response rate. A good employer brand, if you're doing it, your response rate will go up, okay? Time to fill, obviously very easy. I really don't like this metric, even back when I was leading recruiting teams, because it's kind of different size, different shapes for different roles. It's hard to kind of use that as a lump term, but if that's important to you, go for it. Agency reliance. Are you spending a ton of money on agencies? If you're doing this right, that should go down, or maybe even go away. Woo! All right? Engagement rate. So if social is what you care about, and social is your plan, I don't care about views. I don't care about impressions. I care about, do you like, do you click, do you share, and do you comment? So impressions is a really tricky thing. It means that it went through their feed and they saw it. It's not they stopped and looked at it and had an action on it. You care about, was there an action on it? And that's what engagement rate's all about. Even review sites, whether it's Indeed or Glassdoor, if this is what you care about, measure it there. Your scores. Maybe you want to set a monthly views goal. Whatever these things are, you need to think about these things. Career site traffic, hugely important metric in my mind. And you all have this ability with Google Analytics to see this data. So how do you measure it? How many people came per month year over year? Or maybe you just want to do an aggregate. How many people visited last year versus this year? It's a great way because ultimately that's where we're driving everybody. Conversion rate. Conversion rate is offer accepted versus offer extended. The better brand, the better working the brand, that you're attracting the right people who are buying what you're selling, they're going to have a higher conversion rate, just like any marketing funnel. Make sense? We good so far? Kosher? All right. So now, the next step is to be the T1000. Target your audience, just like he did when he walked into the store in the movie. He's like, Uzi 9mm. He knew exactly what he wanted. Okay? And that's how you need to be about your audience. So, when I go to companies, depending on size, I say, give me 15, 20, 30, 100 people that you would clone if you could. I want diverse backgrounds, I want diverse tenures, and I want diverse ages, and I really want to kick all the HR people out of the room. They're not allowed in there, okay? And I ask them lots and lots of questions. And I have someone there literally taking notes like a court stenographer. I take all their information and I pump it into word cloud software, and you start to see themes popping out and words popping out. These are what, if your best people like it, and I know you don't have the budget to go out and hire an agency to do surveys of sample groups all around the world, what better way than to ask the own people that you love? What do they care about? What do they like? You can go off of that and build a very compelling brand that will give you the points you need to keep hitting. So here's some questions I typically ask. There's a lot more, but it's things like, why did you join? Very simple question, right? It's not always what you think. I remember I worked with a company in Massachusetts, yeah, Boston, I'm gonna keep saying that, that does cancer care. And they're doing individual cancer therapies. So this was doctors and scientists and lab techs I was talking to. And I asked them this question, why'd you join? The word cancer never came up. Not once. It's shocking, right? Shocked me. I was a little shook after I walked out of there. What they said was the same things I hear all the time. It was the size of the company. It was the culture. It was the people. It was the opportunity. You don't know unless you ask. And the worst thing you can do is ask your executives what the culture is, because they don't know. They think it's all raindrops and gumballs and chocolate streams. No. Ask your people. I say, when you're at a bar, or your grandparents ask you, or you're with friends, and they say, describe your company. How do you describe it? Very different. It's not the product answer. It's how do you describe the company? You get some really good insight from a question like that. This next one's really important. What social channels are you on? And I ask two questions. First I say, what are you on? Do you have a profile on? And the second one I ask is, and what do you go to at least once or twice a week? Okay, why do I ask that? Because the typical knee-jerk reaction is to say, well, you know what? I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm on all social, and we're just going to do everything everywhere. That way, the most people will see it. Well, if your audience isn't there, why? Why would you do that? Ask them where they are, and if that's where they are, people like them, and their friends and their colleagues, their former network, they're there too. Focus on where you can get the most bang for your buck. And if you don't ask, you won't know. That same company I was talking about, that cancer company, these doctors love Snapchat more than anything else. I was like, Snapchat? What are you, my 10-year-old daughter? But hey, it is what it is. What's most important to you in a potential employer? So asking them, when you're looking for a job, what are the things that matter to you? These are the points, if you've got, you need to stress. Why did you want to leave your last job? A very interesting question. And you get some really interesting answers. Now, why do I ask this? Because this is the stuff you want to avoid, okay? So if they're talking about bad culture or no growth or no learning, you got to make sure you do the opposite of that, okay? It's good to know the negative as much as it's good to know the positive. Another one I ask is, when you get your offer from the company I'm talking to, what were your apprehensions about joining? Here's where you learn the weak spots from your audience. Maybe it's your benefits. Maybe it's your location. Whatever it is, you need to know this stuff. And then, what's different about the company you work for compared to everywhere else you've ever been? This is some gold in their hills, folks. And I really think, there's a lot more questions I ask, but if you don't ask, you won't know. All right, so the next thing I always talk about is content. Everyone's like, oh, but Ed, content, man. I'm not creative, I don't know how to do this. What do we do? Well, you don't need to be like, young Will Hunting over here from Boston, but you do need to have a plan. So one of the things I do in those times that I'm with the company and I build a plan based on what we've learned from the persona session for a year. And it's just ideas. Some of them we say we're going to do different cadences. This is a monthly deal we're doing. This is a bi-weekly. This is just once we're going to do this one. But we brainstorm and spend the time coming up with these ideas that are going to be the baseline for everything we have to do afterwards. It just takes the time up front, okay? So here's some examples. These are companies that they're not spending anything. And by the way, everything I'm telling you, you can do for free. Okay, so here's some examples. This is a company that does postpartum they do a postpartum drug in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they are doing about their values. And simply, they had a big value celebration of their awards that they give to their employees and shared it. Look at that, 256 people like that. They don't have that many employees, okay? So again, very simple. It's stuff that's happening, but we talked about it. We planned. We said, all right, you do your quarterly value awards. We're going to do that. We're going to do those every quarter. We planned it. We had a plan. Here you see another company up in Massachusetts that is a little kid came in the office, and they're about family, right? So when we talked to them, they were all about, I love the fact that I can work here and have the work-life balance to go coach my kid's soccer team or whatever it is. That was over and over and over again. So we show family. Okay? Family. We keep hitting it, but we're not saying, hey, we're family friendly, right? We talk about it. We do it in a way that's approachable, but that's actually happening. In the top right corner, they do a program about coffee meeting with new employees. They have coffee dates with mentors in the company. Simply share it. This stuff is easy. It doesn't take effort. It takes thought. And it just takes the instinct to want to do it, the time to want to do it. All right. Now, with social and with anything, you always have to start with what I call your skeleton, all right? Everyone wants you to just dive right in. They're like, oh, can we go now? And I'm like, no, no, no. We have to build it. And building it means you've got to have a unifying presence across these platforms. Now, they're different audiences, so understanding that what you do on LinkedIn is different than what you're doing on Instagram, for example, different expectations, different audiences. But the unification of it is the brand presence. What you do, whether it's a unifying hashtag here you see from this Israeli software company, but that's across all the platforms, but you need to have that skeleton, that plan with the muscle over on top of it of your content, but the baseline is that skeleton, that unifying thing that puts that, I know if I'm on Twitter and I see this, it's the same company here and it's the same messaging, different content, okay? So I'm gonna now show you video, and I'm gonna talk about video. Video is a hugely important metric and a hugely important medium for you to think about. And I know, oh my God, Ed, video, we can't hire a production company that costs thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. You're right, you don't need to. By the way, those mostly suck, all right? I'm gonna be honest with you. Nobody cares about the video of the person in front of the wall saying, I love my job because they do this and this. Nobody, and I can tell you, look at the views on them, there's none. It's ghost town, crickets chirping, okay? The stuff that really works is the stuff that's raw, that's, I'm going to say the cliche, authentic, okay? The stuff that is not filtered, the stuff that feels more real, that's different. Now, if you've heard me talk before, I also believe in looking at metrics of social data for years, that what really connects with audiences is either funny or it's got emotion to it. I like to call it humor or heart. If it's not funny or it doesn't have emotion tied to it, nobody cares. Even think about what you click on every day. I guarantee you it's in that formula. So here's an example. This is an old one, but it's still very popular, and it's one of my favorites I've ever done. This is at a company I used to work at called Rapid7 in Boston. And they're very different today. They're public and a lot more buttoned up. But at the time, this fit their culture perfectly. So here we go.
Do you feel depressed, lonely, worried, and paranoid? Are you one of the millions of people suffering from a job that sucks? This is a serious condition affecting over 30 million Americans. Are you one of them? If so, do yourself a favor and get some Rapid7 in your life today. Rapid7 is strong enough to make you want to jump out of the bed every morning and start taking control of your life again. It's also clinically proven to make sure your job does not suck. With Rapid7, you will feel happy and invigorated. You don't have to suffer. Be one of the many who have already discovered Rapid7. So turn your life around and get some Rapid7 today.
Ask your doctor about Rapid7 today!
Rapid7 is not for everyone, but if you feel like $1 million and feel like you can do anything, try some Rapid7 today. Side effects include excessive fun, unlimited vacation, happy hours, extreme happiness, Nerf gun fights, unlimited time off, and so much more.
Now, if you know that company back then, that fit them perfectly. And I guarantee you, as I've said in the past, there are people who probably looked and said, what is this shit? And we wanted them to tap out, and they did. But the people who loved it, they were psyched. And they were like, I found my people. And that's effective. Now, you don't have to go crazy like that, but clearly we did that ourselves. We did it on iMovie, right? It took like 30 minutes. We had an idea, and we filmed it, and we went with it. And it was fun, and it was effective. So again, yeah, you can go out and hire a production company to do these glossy films for you, but who are you really trying to talk to? Go back to your personas, understand them, and you will get a better sense of the people you need to reach. Okay. Another medium with video, though, is live. Facebook Live, Instagram Live. Using these things that I know seem pretty scary from a brand perspective, but I gotta tell you, if you want that authentic, unfiltered view of your company, what better way than to stand up there with your phone showing them? There's nothing on this, and you can answer questions and do this. So one of the things I tell clients I work with is, you know what? If you're going to do this and you want to embrace it, you can't just go live. You have to promote it. You have to show them that this is coming and set an audience expectation. So here's a company that was doing an amazing chase with their employees to celebrate a milestone of going public, and they had their like the Amazing Race, but different teams of their company, and they literally promoted it for weeks in advance and got about 1,000 people to tune in. Now this company's 100 people. They had 1,000+ people tune in, seeing this, and all they saw was their employees acting like idiots running around Boston. But it's the actual culture. It's the real thing, right? And it's easy. And the best part about live content is it stays on your platform, on your page, as content. And you didn't have to produce anything. If you don't like it, you can delete it. But if you did, it stays there. It sticks. And you have content forever. The people can go back and view it over and over and over again. Another easy, low-hanging fruit that doesn't cost anything is blogging. Now, blogging, people always worry about blogging because, well, what am I going to write? What do I say? And I always just ask, you know, again, from the personas, well, we heard this is the stuff they care about, the questions you answer, let's write about those. So this is a company, a property management software company called Buildium. And the CEO wrote a blog, and he was talking about something that he had been doing, which is on the anniversary, a 1-year anniversary. He gives their employees Allbirds sneakers, right? Simple thing, nothing crazy. But he wrote about it, and people responded. And that's forever. That stays on his profile when people are looking at the company. That's something that they use and repurpose as content. And it's something that's really meaningful from a CEO, talking about how he appreciates his employees. This next one here is really special to me. This is someone I know personally who worked at a company that she's just so awesome. She wanted to donate her kidney to somebody who needed it. And she didn't even know this person, which makes her like totally awesome. But anyways, she wrote a blog after about how her employer was so behind it and supportive of her doing that and the time she missed. If you think that that didn't have an effect on their employer brand, you'd be out of your mind. People responded. She says today, people still reference this when they come interview at their company. Okay, these things matter. And it just takes the time to sit down and write. You don't have to write War and Peace. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, the shorter it is, the better it's going to perform. We are an ADD society. You know, the longer thing people tap out, I'm done, right? But if it's a few paragraphs, a nice picture in there or two, a compelling emotional tie to it, it will perform. All right, another easy thing to do, doesn't cost any money, is what I like to call headline hopping. All right, headline hopping in social is basically what's trending, what's coming up, what holidays are going on, what social, pop culture phenomenon's happening, and using that to your advantage. So for example, National Donut Day, one of the most glorious days of the year, right? People bring donuts and they do that. Well, if it's National Donut Day, all you have to do is go out, buy a box of donuts, hopefully at Dunkin', right? And you go out and you buy donuts, you bring them in, you take a picture of the donuts, say hashtag National Donut Day at this company, blah, 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 and everyone looking at National Donut Day is finding you. Same thing here, you have opening day, Fenway Park, this is a Boston-based company, again, Massachusetts, and they just simply did a post about opening day on Instagram that performed well for them. Here you have National Professional Engineers Day, whatever that is, right? But they went in and they used it, okay? So again, this stuff is out there. I know they're not small, but I have to give Cisco some props, and I know they're here, so I'm not just saying it because you're here. Is that they, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, were planning for Mother's Day like nobody's business. They knew Mother's Day was coming, and they asked their employees to ask their mothers to give them the career advice they wish they had had. Pretty cool, right? They wrote a blog about it, and it killed. They were ready for it. So if you plan these, if you pick your things that you know you're going to target, and then other things that are happening out there, like May the 4th, Star Wars Day, like should be a national holiday. But anyways, do something like that. Same thing, have your employees do, and it's a cultural tie-in too. These things turn into fun events for your company, but you have to plan for them. Okay, job postings. So this is another cancer care company, believe it or not. You cannot get more deadly serious than their business. But this is a job post. I want to make sure I delineate here what I'm talking about. There's a difference between a job post, which is an update, a social posting, and there's a difference between a job description. Okay? Both of them equally suck in the day that we live in today. Nobody does it well, but when you do it well, it stands out. So I remember talking to this woman who's to the right of the question mark there. And she said, we want to do something unique and creative. We're looking for an HRIS analyst for our team. What do we do? And I said, well, tell me about your team. Well, we always joke about cats and lasers. I said, done. Okay? So they're like, really? I said, yes. Cats and lasers it is. And we did this in Canva. If you don't know Canva, totally cool tool, free, right? Again, you can look and really do some really cool design work in there. And she posted this. This is a job post. This job post had 95 likes. A job post. Look at that. 30 comments. Their applications tripled over the average for this role, for an HRIS analyst. Now, if there are any HRIS analysts in the room, I apologize for what I'm about to say, but is there a more boring-ass job than an HRIS analyst? No. The answer is no. Okay? So, if you can make that fun, you can make anything fun. All right. I don't know what just happened here. Oh, all right. Let me stop there. Can I go back? Yes. Yay. All right. So, job postings don't have to be just a post on LinkedIn. It can be video too. All right, now we all hear about video job descriptions, and I know it's the new thing, the new hotness, so to speak. But again, I'm going to be honest, with what I see mostly, I think people want to do it, but they absolutely are terrible at it. And you have that manager who doesn't want to be filmed being like, yeah, I'm looking for this person here, and they got to do this, and that. And it's like painful to watch. Okay? But you can do this the right way. Now, what you're about to see here was paid for, okay? But it was $1,000, and it was a local production agency, and we did what we're gonna see here for all the departments of the company. This is for a customer service department at a company in Waltham, Massachusetts that was about 120 employees at the time. And it would sit on the career site that people would hover and they'd see a little action scroll of it, and we would post this when we post the job. Why didn't that not work? Here, let's try this again. No. There we go. That's it. Different. It's not the petrified hiring manager. And it doesn't have to be this. What I'm telling you is it can be fun, it can be entertaining. Because make no mistake about it, everything we click on that you want to put out there for your brand has to be at least a little bit entertaining. It has to be, or else people won't engage with it. Okay, now, I promised someone in the audience that would have a Star Wars reference in here because I'm the biggest Star Wars dork in the world. And here's your reference, my friend. Okay, as Lord Vader himself said, you can't do this alone. You need to engage your employees. Now, the worst thing you can do is to have an executive go up there and say, everybody's doing this, this is important. That's forced, and it's BS. All you have to do is ask. First of all, you ask. You say, look, we're doing this. We really want to attract great people to us. If you're so inclined, if you feel comfortable, share the world through your lens. Use our hashtag. Whatever it is you're doing. Okay, here are the channels we're on. If you don't even want to say anything, you just want to like or share our stuff, it reaches a bigger audience. We'd really appreciate it. You could even take it to the next step. Some of the companies I work with do contests. They do quarterly contests where they do maybe the value of the quarter or the top social share of the quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, they announce the winner in front of the whole company from the CEO, and they give them a prize. Some of these places give them literally like an iPad, something big and meaningful that people would care about. Other places simply, just say, hey, we care about this, and they maybe put a monitor in the lobby of their top social shares that people just continue to see, or in the kitchen, in common areas. And these things as well just reinforce that it matters to the company, and if you want to help and you want to be a part of this, help. Okay? But we live in a Yelpified society today, whether we like it or not. And it's one thing for the employer to say, yeah, we're awesome. But if your employees aren't echoing that sentiment, you got problems. Okay? Same thing as if you were going out for a restaurant, you were looking on Yelp and you see the restaurant says, oh, we have awesome beer and awesome steaks, and then you go in the reviews and maybe there's nothing, which was really a warning sign there. Or maybe other people saying it was okay, I guarantee you're not going. Same concept. Same concept. All right, PR is really, really critical. Now, this is an underrated element of PR, of any employer brand campaign, because they think, well, I'm just doing social, I'm branding, woo! No, it's much, much more than that. PR is a huge element that you cannot underestimate. So most of you probably have a PR firm that you're working with, and they're probably out there getting you press opportunities or speaking opportunities or conference opportunities about the product or the service. That's awesome. But guess what? If you ask them to get you opportunities about hiring, about culture, about people, they're getting calls, these PR firms, every day from publications all around the world in your local areas about these topics because they're hot. Why not take them? Ask them to look for them for you, because then you become part of the conversation. A quote from maybe you, your CEO, your VP HR, whomever, about these topics starts to get you out into the ether and gets you awareness and associates you with topics that you want to be a part of. Another easy, low-hanging fruit that usually doesn't cost anything is entering these best places to work contests. We all know they're bullshit, right? But they don't know it, right? Our people don't know it, the candidates. So there's nothing better than having that best places to work on your website or on your employee signatures. You can't win if you don't play, right? You have to get in them. Another thing to do is speak. Now, I'm not just talking about yourselves being out there speaking. I'm talking about you've got really smart people in your offices. Offer them up to speak at conferences and then promote the bejesus out of it. People want to work with smart people. You have people that are looked at as industry leaders or subject matter experts. Put them out there. And it's double benefit. They benefit from their brand, and you benefit from that guy works for us. It's an easy, easy thing to do. Conferences, same thing. Be a part of the conversation. Hosting meetups. So I was working with a company recently that was talking about wanting to be associated with diversity more and wanting to do better at diversity, particularly with women in STEM. So I said, I have an idea. Why don't you host a women in STEM meeting at your office? Huh. They did. They had lots of women in STEM come to their office and see what a great place it is to work. Wouldn't you know, some of them applied. It's easy to do. And all you have to do is do an Eventbrite. You're done. Okay? Promote it, put it out there. You can associate yourself with these things. Being at local events. There's a lot of different local events in your industry, in different sectors and different skill sets. Go to them. You know, we all want to be shut in at our desk and doing work, work, work. These things are really critical. And the more you're out there, the more people see you, the more you become known, the more you become aware of you. And these are really, really important things. Your career site, I hope this works, because this is an amazing GIF. Come on. Here we go. Your career site is hugely critical. Now, everything we've just talked about is leading to your career site. So think about this. You're looking for a car. You turn on a TV. Here's Matthew McConaughey talking pensively, driving his car. Life, man. You know? Doing his thing, all right? Then you get an ad in the mail. That same car. Pretty cool. You go to the car dealership, and it looks nothing like what you thought, and you're dealing with a jerk salesperson. 100% of the time, you are not going to buy that car. Same concept here. You put out that you're fun, exciting, cool, all of those things, and then they get to your website, and it's a bunch of corporate gobbledygook nonsense, lots of words and very corporate buttoned up. You lost. It's over. This is perhaps one of the most important elements of a good employer brand that most companies don't really they underestimate mightily. You really need to show more than tell. The more words you have, the more you suck, okay? First of all, it has to be incredibly easy to apply. Secondly, you need to show people, don't tell them, show them people. Show them things. Show them what it's like to be there. And it has to match what you've been putting out there. It has to match. That consistency absolutely has to be there. All right, now here's some tools. These are mostly free. Some of them are not. That you can start using today. That awesome GIF of me as Russell Crowe in Gladiator is one of my favorites. It's on here. It's GIF. I say GIF, but some people say GIF. But I'm going to say GIF, okay? GIF is one of them. Social aggregators. Now, one of the things now these cost some money, but they're not expensive. You get a one-seat license for Hootsuite. It's like, what, $40 a month nowadays? It's gone up recently, but it's not expensive. So I always get well, Ed, how do I do this? You use a tool like Hootsuite, you put in 3 weeks ahead, and you don't do anything for 3 weeks. It's all set for you. It's planned. Plus, you get awesome analytics behind it. Same thing with Buffer. They're all very similar. They're all easy to use, moron-proof tools that you can use, okay? Canva, I mentioned earlier. Canva is an amazing tool. It's a free graphic design tool that you can create banners, you can create social updates. I introduced it to my wife, and now I'm living hell because she's doing invitations and all this stuff. But it is what it is. It's an amazing, amazing tool. Of course, iMovie, as you just saw with that video I showed you, iMovie, very easy to use. Again, really can be very effective. And I would argue as an SMB, the more polished you look, if you're small and not that huge, you're doing yourself a disservice by not being a little more real and using tools like that. You know, memes. Memes are content gold. People love them. Here's one of my favorites, IMG Flip. As I mentioned, my favorite, GIF. I use that all the time. Designer's another one, Graffiti. There's tons of these things, and I'm constantly finding new ones that I'm playing with. Use them. They're out there, and almost all of these, except for Hootsuite and Buffer, are free. Free, okay? Now, the brand also continues well beyond that. It's post-offer, pre-onboarding, that period between I bought and then I'm coming, okay? I'm bought your position, and then when I arrive. That is also a really, really critical time in a candidate to build the champion forever, or someone who's just a short-term employee who's going to leave you in 2 months, 3 months, a year, whatever it is. There's lots of things you can do. Video. One of my favorite things I ever did was at a company I used to work at. We used to send the Friday before they started, our employees, we used to send out an email of a video that we never made public. We only sent it to our new hires. And it said, we're so excited for you to start on Monday. We feel like champions. We made this video just for you. And it was us lip dubbing, we are the champions, okay? People, I still save to this day those emails from candidates being like, oh my God, this is awesome. I made the right choice. Whatever they say. Those things matter, right? And that's a little thing that didn't take much time at all that really made an impact and was consistent with what we were saying. Maybe you send a gift to their home. This is a great move for people, especially family-oriented companies or hiring mid to senior level type folks. This is a great way to say that we understand your family's part of who we're hiring here. Sending something to their home meaningful. I used to work at a company called Kronos. And Kronos, we used to send a little clay pot, and we used to send bamboo seeds with it. And we said, thanks for planting your career at Kronos, and sent that to their home. Didn't cost much. But that did a lot of goodwill with those employees, and it was something they really appreciated. Jib jabs, if you don't know what jib jabs are, it's the same thing as what I just showed you on my thing, but just a different way to do it. Those are really easy and free too. Or if they're not free, if you get the paid account, it's like $4 a month, and you could put their face with the team members they're joining on a fun little jib jab. Very easy, free, right? GIF welcomes, Lever did an awesome job with this, where they send these little GIFs that they're GIFs, or whatever you pronounce it, of people holding, signs saying "Welcome Steve" or whatever it is, and they send them to their new employees. They change it all the time, and it's really creative and free and easy. You can do video directions to your office. Imagine sending that to candidates who are coming in. Here's a video directions of a first-person view of them walking and pressing the elevator and going up. Easy to produce and different. It makes you stand out. Sending thank you notes to the candidates. I love this idea, and one of my clients does it. They turn the tables on the expectations of companies and candidates in that relationship, because we all know the candidates, you get pissed if they don't send you that thank you notes. You know you do, okay? But what if you flip it and you say, at the end of the day, like they do, as soon as they leave, the manager, it's part of their job, has to write a personal thank you note saying, you could have been anywhere today. You took time out of your day to come and interview with us. We're super thankful that you came in. We'll be back in touch in 48 hours, but we just wanted to say thank you for considering us. Really cool and costs nothing. And you think those candidates aren't taking it back like, wow, that's awesome. And then even when you reject them, it helps ease the pain a little bit too, okay? All of these things are really easy and critical. Now, as you've seen with my many dorky references throughout this is perhaps one of my favorite movies, and if you remember this scene, is Tell Them About the Twinkie, Ray, right? About what it is. Now, why do I have this here? Because this is about your plan. You have to have a plan. And yeah, we've got all these ideas, we've got this content plan, we've got our social skeleton, we've got videos ideas, but to roll this out effectively, you can't do it all at once. You need to have a measured plan of where you're gonna focus, how much it's gonna take, what time or resources it's gonna take. You could be super effective, but if you don't give a crap, it's not gonna happen. You have to devote time to it. You have to devote time to it. I don't care how big or small you are. If you don't devote time to it, it won't work, and if you do, it will. So having a plan, understanding how much of my time am I dedicating to this? How am I gonna get this content? How much time am I doing creating this content? Where am I going to do this video? What's my video ideas? All of these things, you have to have a plan, right? So tell your employees about the Twinkie. Okay? Lastly, do you guys know this movie? All right, right on. We're friends. If not, I don't know if I like you. But you can do it. You absolutely can. Everything I've talked to you about, outside of a few little nooks and crannies, is free. And it can be I've seen it countless times, be highly effective and unique, and can make you stand out. You don't need to be Google, okay? And if I see another Google employer brand thing, I'm gonna puke. It's not about size, it's not about consumer brand, it's about effort, it's about dedication, it's about doing your homework, and about being authentic and understanding the humor and heart component. You do all these things, you could kill Google, you can kill anyone else you want to. They will find you, and you will stand out. And with that, I say adieu. So, thank you. So I left some time for questions. I purposely tried to hustle through a little of this, so we have like 5 minutes if anyone has some questions. Yeah.
Okay, so I work for a company that has a relatively new brand.
Yep.
And I love the humor and heart component, but I feel like my corporate person.
Can you, is there a microphone? Can you bring that? I can't hear her.
My corporate person isn't here. So I'm going to switch down to my.
Hi, CorpCom person.
So I work for a company that has a relatively new brand.
Yep.
And I love the humor and heart component, but we're so concerned about being on point with our brand
Yep.
that a lot of the most creative ideas we have, corporate com, I'm gonna slink down now because I don't want them to see that I'm over here. But they shoot it down. And so
Yeah.
how do you find some balance in there between real creativity and fun that gets the buzz and being on point with brand and acceptable to
Show them data.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen, and I've done this exercise with marketing or CorpCom before, where I say, all right, tell me how you're doing. And I say, let me get into your data. Maybe it's a LinkedIn updates or whatever, their update data. And I look and see they're doing piddling little stuff. And I mean, let's be honest, nobody cares about your press releases except you and your employees, okay? And I see that constantly over and over again. But then, Shay, give me a chance. Let me show you 1 or 2 examples of something I want to do. And when you see that it's performing way better, they start to come around. Always. Okay. Yeah.
Hi. I'll pass the mic over right
All right, okay.
What's that? Yeah. I wanted to ask you another hurdle. So with the company that I work with, very heavy with compliance, regulations, things need to be reviewed. If I have that hurdle in the finance industry and I want to get that fun message out there, and I can think of companies like I'm also from Boston. So, so I know a lot of companies that have that fantastic branding, and I want to bring that for the company I work for. But where I have those hurdles, what's your advice? How do I get over that?
So you just saw me reference companies that are dealing with patients, with HIPAA regulations. You could not get more regulated than that industry. And what it takes is, you don't have to be funny, right? I just say funny because that's what I gravitate to. It's emotion. It's emotion. So again, if you put emotion into what you're doing, it will get responses. So again, with those cancer companies outside of the job post, which was a unique situation of itself that I showed you, what they're doing is sharing why they work. Their campaigns are around, I'm an IT systems analyst because I'm helping develop systems because my mom had cancer, and I want to kill cancer. It's true, it's real, and they're sharing it, and that stuff matters. So if they can do it, you can do it. And it just takes a little bit of saying, do you trust your employees, okay? Do you trust the people that you hired? If you don't, you should fire them. You hired the wrong people, right? You have to be able to understand that they are talking to people all the time, every day, around the world, and especially the people are looking out in at you, right? Do you want to drive the narrative, or do you want the narrative driven by others? And that's a great question you need to ask yourself, because it's happening, whether you want it to or not. You can shape it, but it's happening. Oh, sorry, yeah.
So I guess she kind of touched on the whole HIPAA thing. So with HR, I'm trying to get our brand started, and it's just kind of difficult because it's always like, well, this employee is no longer here. We can't really do that because of HR. How do you just get around it? That's the tough part sometimes, where it's like HR, sorry for any HR people that are in here, but it's just a constant well, HR needs to approve that, or HR needs to do this, and they're really good ideas and it'll help with the brand, but then it gets shut down.
Yeah, so, what I would tell you is that you really need to think about, again, just starting from someplace authentic. And I hate the term, but it's like you have these stories that exist right now, okay? And to get HR to come around is to simply show them, again, setting goals. Like I talked about earlier, what are you going to want to get out of this? What's in it for them? Everyone's selfish, whether we want to admit it or not. In our roles, in our lives, we have our own agendas of what we want to get out of it. What's in it for them? What's in it for the HR department? What can they benefit from it? They're going to get more engaged employees. Think about this. If I'm in front of the company and I say, Matt, you're my best employee. Here's our employee, big Tiger Woods check for Matt for Employee of the Month. Woohoo! That's great. You're doing that internally. What if we did it externally to the world? Big difference. Matt is going to be harder to pry away from other companies, so there's your retention issue right away. Matt is getting love in a way that doesn't cost us anything except a social update, so we don't have to give him a big fat bonus. We can just talk about him on social, and we love Matt, right? That matters. Matt shares it with his friends and family. His peers see it. They want to be Matt. There's so many benefits to this. And so particularly in highly regulated industries, it just starts small. Start small and do really little things and start showing them the effectiveness of it, and then take that data back and say, now you see, this is what we're doing. It's not scary. We're not breaking anything, and there's benefits. Then they come around. So you just got to do small little bites.
So we'll do the final 2 questions, one over here and then one over there. Can you talk at all about responding to people on social channels, whether that's, Glassdoor and responding to reviews, or even on LinkedIn or on Facebook? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So there's people who say you should respond to everything, and I don't agree with that. I do think you should be a part of the conversation, but if all you do is respond to negative, don't do it. If you're going to respond to positive and negative and not to every single one, okay? And the key is do not appear, it's a very fine line, do not appear combative, right? If you appear the slightest bit combative, it's going to do you more harm than good. So what I always say in those situations is acknowledge, thank you for sharing this feedback. Say action plan, this is what we're doing and we appreciate that and this is the thing, and then thank them for taking the time. Done, right? Don't go overboard with it. Again, you're gonna get dinged. Nowhere is perfect, and we all know people who go on review sites are usually pissed off people, more than happy people, okay? So understand that, and then pick your poison on what you wanna talk about and what you want to address, okay? And the other thing to remedy that if you're getting bad reviews is to ask your employees that love it there, say, hey, we all know unhappy people, usually you write reviews, and happy people don't ever say, oh my God, I love this, I'm so happy. But if you love it here, it would really help us if you went on and wrote a review. If you don't want to, that's fine, but I'm just saying it would really help us if you did. Those things are big. So again, I just wouldn't go overboard. Yeah, it's good, but don't go crazy. Some people want to respond to everyone, and some people take it personal. Fine line, very fine line there. Okay? Yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have tips on folks that kind of wear multiple hats in talent acquisition? So to your earlier point, not every company has someone that just is dedicated to employer branding. So so I'm doing everything, right? I'm doing recruiting, I'm doing employee engagement, retention, employer branding.
Awesome.
What are some tips on, how to get started and how to make the time and the manpower when I'm kind of a one-man show?
Yeah. So what I always tell people in those situations is find someone in your company who's passionate about social media. Real easy place to start. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with at these companies that were recruiting coordinators, executive assistants, whatever it is, that this became their job because they took to it and they wanted to do it and they were excited about doing it. It can be under your control, under your purvey, but find someone who's got a passion for this. That's all. You see them on Facebook all the time, tweeting, sharing their latest lunch. Oh my God, I hate that. But anyways, but their lunch or whatever it is, and they're always on there and they're doing these things. That person clearly knows the platforms, they know what to do, they're active, and they love it. Let them free. Let them do it. They become excited about it, they do the legwork for you, and then at the end of the day, you get to control what's going out there. It's easy, but again, if that can't happen and you can't find someone to do that, literally put on your calendar 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day, every day. You'll be fine. That's it? All right, thank you.